Inside Hilltopper Athletics is brought to you by Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration. Here's your host, Lynn.
Welcome to Inside Hilltopper Athletics. This is a special pregame edition as the Hilltoppers are here in Indiana University, Pennsylvania to face Pitt Johnstown in a rematch from an earlier game in the first semester. I'm joined by Don Clegg, longtime SID writer, voice of the Hilltoppers now, jack of all trades. So Don, welcome.
Well, thank you, Coach. And it seems like this is something we're making an annual date.
Yeah, and it's great. And the one advantage, of course, we would have loved to have hosted it.
Oh.
We thrive on that, the home court advantage and everything that goes with that, but it didn't work out that way. Had a great season, only lost 3 games, but IUP's only lost twice. So they get the host, and we're here, but less than 2 hours from campus.
Well, absolutely. And again, I think it's, the third straight year that IUP's hosted. We go back to the COVID year when we were going to host, but I know Coach Hallett doesn't mind coming up here. Relatively short trip for us, short trip for our fans who really support us, and again, this has become a habit forming if you're a Hilltopper fan.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. And as always, you've done some incredible research, and we've got our cheat sheets here laying in front of us. So, Don, go ahead and read the statement, and I'll comment on it.
Okay, well, for one thing, as you know, this is our 14th straight NCAA tournament trip, 15th overall, and we're 29-13 in the NCAA tournament play, and the 29 wins are one of the top totals of any NCAA Division II program. And on top of that, those 14 straight tournament appearances, it's the longest active streak in Division II, and it's only one shy of the record 15 straight set by Assumption, Mass from 1963 to 1977. It's almost a half a century ago.
Yeah, and that's what's crazy. And us both being stat nerds, we have numbers all the time, and we take it for granted at West Liberty. You know, it just keeps repeating it perpetuates itself. But to make 14 consecutive NCAA tournaments, that's incredible. And to show that it's the second longest streak ever, only one shy of the longest, that's a testament in itself. We don't even need to comment anymore about that. That just shows that no one else does this.
No, absolutely. And again, when West Liberty gets their postseason, it's not we're just happy to be here. You know, it's I was looking back through the books. You know, we played at 9 of the last 12 Sweet 16s, 6 of the last 12 Elite 8s, and made it to 3 Final Fours, and of course the championship game in 2014.
And another testament that is IUP has similar accolades. Now, their numbers aren't going to be quite maybe at the levels of ours, very, very close. Mm-hmm. But under the NCAA's regional NCAA regional appearance, that eliminates one of the two to make it to that Elite 8.
Oh, absolutely. And we've knocked each other off in the championship game multiple times, going both ways.
Right. So having another power in the region, that just goes to show how difficult it is to do the things that IUP has done and West Liberty has done. All right, let's talk about Pitt Johnstown.
Okay, well, and again, I heard your podcast with Coach Hallett yesterday, and I thought he made a really good point because, you know, Pitt Johnstown is an established program. Coach Rukavina has been there forever, and they're coming off of their third straight 20-win season. It's their 5th NCAA tournament appearance, but it's only their first since 2009 when, ironically enough, they were in the West Virginia Conference with us. And they're 2-4 in NCAA tournament action. Now, we've won the last 10 meetings with them. We lead the series, I think, 15-7, and that includes what you referenced earlier, that 93-76 win back in November inside the ASRC. And I think the point that Coach made back then, you know, that was November. That was only the second week of the season. He doesn't really draw much from that because we're not the same team that we were in November. They're not the same team that they were in November. And he knows from coaching against Coach Rukavina that we're going to get their best shot.
Right, and they are extremely well coached. Coach Rukavina, you have it in here somewhere. How many wins, Don?
500 and let me see. Yeah, he's top 10 all active NCAA coaches, 548 career wins.
So that's a lot.
That is a lot.
548 is a lot. So he knows what he's doing. He's going to come in here prepared. He is going to probably throw something at us that maybe we didn't see earlier. But as we talked on the podcast yesterday, I barely remember that game. It was just so long ago, so early in the season. And again, we did win 93-76. Malik McKinney, career high, 24 points in that game.
Yeah, Malik had a great game.
But it just seems like forever since we played them. So both teams, Pitt Johnstown's worried about playing in the PSAC. We're worried about playing in the Mountain East.
Right.
We're worried about competing in conference tournaments. We're worried about getting here. So these two teams probably haven't thought much about each other since we left the ASRC that night.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, but now the wheel turns and we're back around and we're back in the NCAA tournament. They're back in the NCAA tournament after a little bit of a longer absence. And two teams with some similarities. I mean, not in styles, because as you always say, styles make fights, but in makeup. They're a really experienced veteran team. We have a lot of guys who've been here for a while. We've got 4 guys who scored 1,000 or more points in college. They've got, I think, 7 of their top 8 rotation guys back from last year. They picked up the only guy that's not back from last year was the freshman of the year in the PSAC this year. So this is a very good basketball team.
And it is a very good basketball team. And just as we were talking about Coach Rukavina and his 500-plus wins, Ben Hallett, and I love this stat, leads all NCAA basketball coaches in winning percentage, 156-24, an 8.67 percentage.
Yeah, and you talk about all the NCAA basketball coaches. It's not just Division II. That's every division. Yeah, if you've been coaching for 5 or more years, that's the minimum that they have inside of the NCAA record book. That's Ben Hallett's name right next to the number 1.
Yeah, it's just that it's been an incredible run, a championship every single year, and went to Elite 8 a few years ago. Hopefully we can do what we need to do at this tournament and possibly advance. You had mentioned, other than Bryce Butler, 3 other 1,000-point scorers. Malik, 1427, Steve Canaday, 1370, Christian Montague, 1,204. They could be stars on other teams.
Oh, absolutely.
But they're playing with Bryce Butler. And one of the things that I made a vow when we were going to start doing these podcasts, we weren't going to individualize this stuff. West Liberty, if anything, has proven year in and year out, they are a team basketball. They do not have to overly emphasize one player. One player is not going to get a volume of shots that's going to be some of the most attempts in a conference or region or even nationally. But what Bryce has done, and Ben will be the first one to tell you, he's all about team basketball. So it is really, really refreshing when he can get the accolades that he has.
Oh, no, absolutely. And and the thing with Bryce and with all of the Hilltoppers actually is they do what they do. They put up these numbers, and they play on average probably 5 to 10 minutes fewer than most other starters and everything like that, because that brings us to one of the subjects that I wanted to bring up today, the impact of what we've come to call the second platoon on what this team has been able to do. And we've won 13 straight coming down the stretch, and I think the impact of that second platoon has had a lot to do with that.
Right, and I think as we talked about, both teams are different from when they faced back in that first semester. Nothing more evident than the growth of that second platoon. And I need to find out a term that's more apt fitting. I don't like these are the starters, this is the second unit, this is whatever. There's got to be a better term, because we've got some really, really good players that are in that rotation that could always argue they should be in the starting lineup. You know, the kids that walk out there when they throw the jump ball up. But that unit has played exceptionally well together, including multiple big games where we have not got out of the gate well, we have not shot the ball well early. That platoon goes in and they've changed the game.
Yeah, well, this is their energy drink, more or less. I mean, they just push the pedal to the metal, and sometimes they'll push it through the floor, and they really get the tempo going. They force turnovers, they get the speed up, they get the crowd into it. You know, it's exciting basketball when they're on the floor, and it feeds off to the first unit, and then it's like they compete with each other to see who can make the most energy plays, I guess.
Right, and it's just been a great formula. That unit has come up big after we lost to Wheeling, down at Wheeling. It's just been amazing what that platoon has been able to do. So fast forward, we're here at IUP now. Who should we be concerned with as we're watching this current version of UPJ?
Okay, well, one question mark that Pitt Johnstown has coming into today's game is the status of John Paul Kromka. That's their 6'7" All-American frontliner. We played against him the first game. Pitt Johnstown has struggled a little bit down the stretch. They beat Mercyhurst in the regular season. They split with them. And then they lost to Mercyhurst in the PSAC tournament. And it was a rather lopsided loss, but the significance about that, and this was 12 days ago, it was almost 2 weeks ago, is John Paul Kromka didn't play. Now, John Paul Kromka is a 4-time PSAC West Defensive Player of the Year, returning All-American, ranks among the top 5 nationally in field goal percentage, block shots, each of the last 2 years. Now, he, according to Coach Rukavina, he talked to the Johnstown papers, and they said that he expects him to play today and all. And I know that Coach Hallett and his staff are preparing for him to play, but it's not just a one-man band out in Johnstown, because you have Drew Magestro, who's a 6'3" senior guard, actually comes off the bench for Pitt Johnstown. He's only 22 points away from joining the 1,000-point club up there. We referenced the PSAC Freshman of the Year, a young man named Andrew Schul. Actually played a year at Rio Grande in the IA school in Ohio, averaged 14 points a game for them, came to Johnstown, stepped right into the starting lineup. They have another guy in their starting lineup, and I'm sorry I have to look this one up, Jared Jakovic, another 6'4" senior, who is shooting over 60% from the three-point arc. You know, this is a team with weapons.
Well, and West Liberty, who is probably one of the more undersized teams in the nation. We do not have 6'8" guys running around out there. West Liberty, I think if we could go back to that game, they did an amazing job on Kromka without having to excessively double.
Yes.
So I think if I could pick a key to the game today is you're not going to shut these type of players out. They're going to get their points. They're going to be a presence. But if you can keep them into somewhat normal totals without having to excessively double, because then that leads to kickouts, leads to open shots for other people, I think that's going to be the key. And West Liberty obviously cannot get in foul trouble in this game, especially with our bigs, the Ben Sarsons, the Bryce Butlers, etc. So it's going to be an exciting day. Tip off at 2:30.
There we go.
We always screw the times up on these podcasts, and poor Rex Lancaster has to edit it out. But this is going to be a good one. 2 really, really good programs, year in, year out. And let's hope West Liberty can advance and move on and get into the semis tomorrow.
Absolutely, that's what it's all about this time of year, survive and advance.
All right, that wraps up this edition of Inside Hilltopper Athletics. Let's hope we're doing another one of these tomorrow morning. Don, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
People, show up in the arena. Tune in. It's going to be a good one.
Go Toppers.
The Panhandle Difference.
We were very fortunate to have worked with Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration. The team that we worked with was extremely professional. They were flexible and very receptive to our needs during that difficult time. And it gave us the opportunity to open very quickly and get our casino up and running for our customers.